Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Stories with Kitten, where I read you real, true paranormal tales from the internet. And of course, these are read to you by a real human and not AI. So let's get into the ghost stories. The Haunted School. In 2014, me and my friends went to this haunted school in our area called Machando Elementary School. It was built in 1895 and is now a historical site in the South Bay area. CA, this is Morgan Hill, so San Jose. One night, for some odd reason, we decided to start looking into haunted places around us because we had late curfews and not much else to do. We did some research and discovered the story of Machado, where it's reportedly haunted by a little girl who slipped and drowned in a creek behind the school, from what I remember anyway. We went there the first night at around 11 or 12 a.m. Nothing unusual or interesting happened beside the eerie setting of the somewhat empty school and the full moon shining from above. Disappointed, but determined, we remembered hearing about the witching hour, and so, for the second night we returned, a little before that time. The previous night we took some pictures with a smaller group of people, about 5 or 6. But the second night we went back with 10 people and started to take pictures of every part of the school. My buddy, Tino, was next to me when we started to take pictures of the staircase, and that's when we captured this photo. Upon review of the pictures he was taking, he spotted this in one of them. Freaked out and excited, he called over my other friends over and saw it on the phone. A few minutes after he took them with my own 2 eyes. Unless he was a tech wizard, I highly doubt he could have altered the pictures of the ghost that we saw in a few minutes. He'll set the timestamp of 3:06 a.m., so it couldn't have been altered the night before. The interesting thing about his picture was that my friend Tino was always plagued by some kind of dark energy and experiences that would happen to him and he would share with us. But for me, this is my only experience that I had of the paranormal besides sleep paralysis. I work at a treatment center in SoCal right now, and my co-workers always believed it to be haunted and have plenty of stories themselves. It gives me a kick to share this story, followed by that because I can see the chills and the expression on their face in the photo. What do you guys think? Anyone from the Bay Area that has been to Machado and had haunted experiences there? Please share. And thanks for reading this. I felt like sharing this with it being a day before Halloween. Have a great day. Your narrator here. I wish I could share the picture with you, but if you're interested in finding it, you can find it on Reddit under the Paranormal Encounters subreddit. And the story is Haunted School. On to the next ghost story. My story. I've always been a believer in the paranormal, even before this event took place. I kind of want to share my story to see if anyone else has had the same experiences as me. This happened back in an old house of mine. For context, I was asleep in the living room on the couch, and on the right side of the room was a window with the blinds down. It's a very important part to this story. I'd woken up all of a sudden, and when I looked at the time it was 3 a.m. I tried my best to go back to sleep, because around this place, around the whole scary videos at 3 a.m. trend that was going on, I had failed to get back to sleep, and so I resorted to watching Boomerang on TV. I remember Boomerang. Everything was normal till I looked at the window that I mentioned earlier and saw it. It looked like it had the silhouette of a woman with her hands pressed up against the window, like she was looking in, even though the blinds were closed. I actually had felt terrified of whatever it was, but I didn't run to my parents' room or anything. I'm not sure why, but my kid mind thought that if I had actually gotten up and ran to my parents' bedroom, that the thing would have somehow attacked me, and so I didn't move an inch. And it also didn't move. It just stood there, hands on the glass. It felt like an eternity before 6 a.m. hit, and when I looked back, the thing was gone. I'm not entirely sure what I saw that night. I've told my mum about this, and she thinks it might have been the lighting of a tree, which could have been true, but it just felt too real to be somehow just lighting or a shadow. I've never had any other encounters with the supernatural after that, but it was such a disturbing experience that it comes up from time to time. It really did freak me out as a child, and I wonder, did any of you ever have similar experiences? A strange sighting. Okay, so I want to start this off by saying I do not really believe in cryptids or anything of that sort. I do, however, believe in ghosts. That being said, this morning me and my dad were recalling a moment that we shared together which we never got any clear answer to. In the spring months of 2017 to 2018, can't entirely remember which year it exactly was, we had a really bad storm in the Chicago suburbs area. Very strong winds, and a tree ended up falling, ripping our power lines out of a house and destroying our fence. This was at about 12 to 1 a.m. My dad ended up coming home from work, as he was a truck driver and worked nights. So after helping him look through all the damages, we went to sit in our living room, which looks out onto a small creek. It is then that we saw a big white-looking creature walking on all fours down the creek bank slowly. It looked white in colour, as stated, but I'm unsure if that is entirely accurate, as I know animals can appear off-colour in the dark. It was like a black bear size. We don't really get much wildlife bigger than raccoons/possums in this area, or the very rare deer. I just wanted to share this story, in case someone had a more logical answer for me. Thank you. This happened 17 years ago, and I still think about it to this day. My sister, 6, and me, 8 years old at the time. I still can't explain what happened, but here's the story. We were at home and quite bored. My dad and my mum had stepped out for a date night and left us with our aunt, who fell asleep while watching the TV, which was not our normal. So, I asked my sister if she wanted to watch a movie, and of course she said yes. I went to grab a VHS tape. Yup, an actual VHS tape, and I inserted it inside the VHS player. But the movie got stuck. I tried again, and the player started jumping up and down, like literally jumping up and down. That had never happened before. All the lights on the player suddenly turned on, and the damn player started floating, literally floating above the ground for at least 15 seconds. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was so scared that I grabbed my sister, and we didn't know what to even do. As we began to cry uncontrollably, my parents walked in. The VHS player stopped floating, and the VHS tape ejected and flew across the living room. Up to this date, we still talk about it and see if we remember that night when we were children. Was it our imagination? Or I wonder, was it something else? Man, your narrator here, I remember. I was a 90s child. Yes, I was there. But I remember using VHS tape players as well. And sometimes, I will admit, they would get jammed. If you pushed them in there too hard, you could kind of wreck them. But I think he might have been dealing with poltergeist. The whole thing floating up in the air is a pretty good indicator that that was definitely something paranormal and probably not your imagination. So, this next submission does not actually have a title on the story, so we will just call it a ghost story. I used to have a twin house with my brother and his girlfriend on their side of a very short 4-house street, with a dead end after my neighbour's front yard. One day, late in the evening, when I turned my car in my driveway, I saw that thing in the light beams of my car at the end of the street for like 3 seconds. It was a strange, twisted sort of creature on all fours, before it stood up on its hind legs and ran off in one gigantic jump. Behind it, on a drawing I'd made of it, was a bent metal fence for cars, because there was a river behind it, and I could clearly see that its legs were taller than it, which are at least 1 meter tall, making that thing pretty freaking tall as well. I don't know what I saw enough to know what it was, but I saw enough to know it was nothing I could know. I remember it perfectly. Its very round head, round back, and very thin, long legs, and no neck. It had no ears, no tail, and no hairs, with a pinkish-grey skin. I didn't see hooves, so I guess they must have been paws. I also kind of saw a bit of a long nose, but definitely not as long as like a dog or something. It had very big, round, black eyes, and something that sort of looked or resembled like a dog's snout. I stayed hidden in my locked car for at least 30 minutes, with a very thin opening in my windows so I could hear if it was getting closer to me. But I never heard anything and never saw it again. I called my sister-in-law, asking her to bring their dogs inside and to unlock the door, waiting for me so that I could run in. I'm not much of a runner in life, but I swear I made the distance faster than I thought I could ever do it that night. I told them all about it, and they had to believe me because of the panic in my eyes. But I understand it's still hard to. Even I had a hard time believing what I saw. To this day, I still have no idea what it could have been. I think it's going to bother me, perhaps, for the rest of my life. I don't think I was supposed to see whatever this thing was. For reference, I lived in a wooden part of Quebec, Canada, with a native village on the other side of a river. It was too tall to be a dog, even a sick one, and too thin to be a bear. Also, even a sick one. No hooves. No, it can't be a deer, but also again, no tails or long neck. Does anyone have any idea what the hell I saw? Well, it's your narrator here. Beyond the obvious notion of skinwalkers, because you're in Canada, I might even like to imagine that perhaps you saw a Wendigo in the night. Feeling of a presence and seeing something briefly. So I live in the eastern United States in a relatively normal house. On weekends, I go to bed at 12 to 1 a.m. A throwback for small backstory, but may not be related at all. I was sitting at a table that faced a small glass door in my dining room. I'm eating, and I look up and see an orange-ish bald head swiftly move across my back door. To this day, I still eat in that room. Okay. Now, last night, which was March 13th, I came out of the bathroom and saw my dad wasn't working on his chair. He wasn't, so I looked into my parents' room and saw a pale figure move again fairly quickly. I went into my room and got my airsoft gun for my own clarity and looked and saw nothing. Later that night, I went to get something to eat while putting chicken into the air fryer, and I get the feeling that someone or something was watching me. Maybe it was the orange bull-headed guy. I leave, and at my computer I keep getting the same feeling. When walking down the hallway, I also have another feeling, but I need to get the fuck out of it and into my room. So I go get the chicken. Good call getting the chicken first. But this time, I turn the lights off, and I still lightly have this feeling. Could anyone tell me what this could possibly be? 'Cause I have no idea. It's your narrator here. All I can think about, and I cannot remember the guy's name, but I bet someone in the comments can help me with this. There is, in America, this cleaning product, and it's got this orange-skinned guy with a perfectly bald head. Maybe it's like Mr. Swiffer or something like that. But if you know what I'm talking about, that's the entity I'm pretty sure that you conjured and saw. On to the next story. Weird things have been happening the past few days. A few days ago, one of my boyfriend's friends came over to watch a game. Once the game was over, we turned the TV off and all talked for a while. Our friend stopped what he was saying and said that he saw a shadow-like figure walk down our hallway and into the kitchen in the TV reflection. We were weirded out, but just kind of brushed it off and didn't think about it after that. Today, I was putting my daughter down for a nap. I sang her Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and she fell asleep. I sat back down in the rocking chair to make sure she wasn't going to wake back up. Then, one of her toys started going off by itself. This toy is a Disney princess vanity with a mirror, and it plays music and different sounds when pushing a button. I changed the batteries in this toy not too long ago, and it has never went off by itself like that before. After it initially went off, I was creeped out and waited like a minute to see if it would do it again. Then I said out loud, "If anyone is here, can you make that toy go off again?" And as soon as I said that, it went off again, and my entire body got goosebumps and the chills. I don't know if I'm overthinking this or what, but it really creeped me out, as my old house was haunted. We've lived at our new place for almost 2 years now, and nothing has ever happened to us until a few days ago. I already brought Sage just to be safe. I'd love to hear others' experiences that might be similar to this. Thank you for reading this story if you've gotten this far. You're welcome. Next ghost story. Just happened. I've been obsessed with ghosts since elementary school. I've unfortunately never really had any memorable experiences. Well, today, that finally changed. Now, even if I believe, I also believe in being skeptical. I make sure to rule everything before I jump to any conclusions. Tonight I am certain. I've been doing a lot of witchcraft lately, and so maybe I've been stirring something up. I'm sitting on the couch alone and looking through a book. I have a lit cigarette in the ashtray on the coffee table in front of me, and I feel something come from above, almost hit me and land on the floor next to my feet. It takes me a minute to put it all together. The cigarette lifted into the air and was basically thrown at me. I'm sober, I'm wide awake. I am in shock, and this has to be the coolest thing that has ever happened to me. I love ghosts. The weird part is, my pets were in the room and did not react. I thought animals always reacted to spirits no matter what. Well, my stomach is still fluttering. Another thing, why can't I feel them? And I was like, I didn't feel anything negative, so they're probably good. And then I realized I can't feel them at all. So how would I know? Thoughts? Your narrator here. My thought is that ghost does not want you to smoke. The story of the creepy man on the path. I'll never forget this one night when I was sitting on the porch outside my old house. There was a main path right in front of my house, and there were a set of stairs next to the side of my apartment, and at the bottom of the stairs is where the path would begin. So, I'm sitting on my porch, and to the right I can see where the stairs end and where the path begins. When I turn a little more to the left, you can still see the path, but it's on a hill, so it starts to go down. When I turn straight ahead, right in front of me, I see bushes used for privacy. Okay, now that you have the lay of the land, here goes. So, one night, I'm sitting on my porch and was just doing the usual. I'm always aware of my surroundings, so before I check my phone, I just take a look to see if anyone's around or if someone is coming down the stairs or whatever. I look and there's no one around. So I look down at my phone, unlock it, open my email, and before I read this one email I've been waiting for, I look up and I see someone standing on the path. Not to my right, but not right in front of me either. He's just standing there, like someone would if they got a text and just stopped to check it. No one else is around, and there's no one behind him, in front of him, nothing. And it's so quiet you could hear a pin drop. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's just checking his phone. But I swear, the more and more I was looking at him, the more and more this feeling of uncertainty just grew and grew. Like, first of all, he was so still like a statue. His arms weren't moving. His head wasn't moving. He was just standing there. He had on blue jeans with a white shirt and an orange shirt coming from the back left pocket. So random, I know. I was trying to see if it was a man or a woman, but I couldn't even tell, and I couldn't even see their skin. It's like there was no color to it. And I could see with someone/something standing there with clothes on, but I couldn't see their skin. I tried looking at their head to see what type of hair they had, and it was really hard to see. It was so dark. They still keep standing there as I'm looking and trying not to make a sound, but I'm trying to stand up so I can get a better look. Wait, it gets even scarier still. So I'm trying to get a better look. I just keep getting this bad feeling, and my intuition tells me, go get inside. Run away, go inside now, don't wait. So I do. All of this literally took less than 5 minutes. So I go inside and I lock the doors. And as soon as I do, I look outside the window to see if he's there. And he's just vanished. I remember I put cameras in front of my windows a couple of days ago, so I thought, maybe I caught him on camera. Since the camera was facing the direction he was standing, I thought that if the camera caught him, it's a perfect angle for it. So I checked the camera, and tell me why the camera didn't save the entire footage of a weird person standing outside. It's like it had the recording from before that happened, and then after he went away. The whole time period I was outside, it wasn't recording, and I didn't mess with them or move them, so there's no reason that the camera should not have caught that. Still to this day, I have no idea who or what that was. Luckily, we moved out of there a couple of years ago. That was a pretty good story, actually, and narrator here, I really enjoyed that one. Thank you for sharing it with us. Also, if you guys hear any background noises, which you might be able to hear there. I have my birds, I have my pet macaws, which if you guys have seen the videos, you've probably seen them when I do the live feeds telling these ghost stories. But it is macaw breeding season, and if you hear any strange noise, it's just my birds going at it in the background. That's the nicest way I can put it, because it's the season of love. So, apologies for any odd bird squawking background noises. Let's get into the next story. Possible paranormal experiences while filming in a cemetery. A true story. About 16 years ago, I was filming a low-budget horror movie in a very old historic cemetery, and yes, we had permission. It was late at night and extremely dark. There were no nearby streetlights or buildings, so without our equipment, the cemetery would have been in total darkness. For one shot, we had a very simple lighting setup. A regular light bulb inside a paper lantern to soften the light. Very low budget but effective filmmaking. But for the shot we needed more brightness, so we removed the paper lantern. We now had a hot bare bulb and nowhere convenient to place it. The only flat surface nearby was the top of a large headstone. We all felt a little weird about putting it there, but it seemed harmless enough. So we carefully placed the bulb on top of a stone and rolled the camera. When I called action, the light suddenly dimmed, not flickering, not going out, just noticeably dimmed. The strange thing was that the bulb wasn't connected to a dimmer switch, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't a dimmable bulb anyway. So that was in my house to see. That was not the birds. Because if you've been watching my other stuff, pretty sure that this house I'm in Savannah is haunted. Like I posted, for those of you interested, I did post a video. It's on the Instagram and Facebook of some of the paranormal activity I saw, including a shadow, which is quite scary. But yes, if that was you, ghost, let me know. Anyway, hope you're enjoying the stories. It wasn't a dimmable bulb anyway, so we picked the bulb up off the headstone, and immediately it went back to full brightness. Everyone noticed. To test it, we placed the bulb back on the headstone again. Action! The light dimmed again. At this point, we started checking everything: power source, cables, bulbs, connections. But nothing explained why the brightness changed, only when it was sitting on the headstone. One of the crew members finally looked down at the grave marker, read the name engraved out loud, and jokingly, but politely, asked if we could film our scene here. We stood quietly for a moment, and then placed the bowl back on the headstone. This time, it stayed fully bright. We called action again, and the light never dimmed. We got the shot with no further issues. When we wrapped up for the night, we thanked the potential spirit, just in case, and packed up quickly. To this day, I still wonder if it was just a weird coincidence, or if someone buried there simply wanted a little respect. The Dunkin' Donuts I work at is haunted. Oh, this should be good. I truly believe the Dunkin', I, a 21-year-old female, that I work at is haunted. I unfortunately don't have photos for proof, but I feel the need to share these two encounters with you. For context, my Dunkin' was built over a dumping ground for, like, cars and other things, so who knows what might be buried there. So one day, it was a slow day at work. My co-workers and I were in the back because nobody was there. No cars, nobody ordering from the lobby. So we're all just in the back, just on our phones, since we had nothing else to do, and occasionally checking cameras in case someone did come in. While we're there, I suddenly hear a metal clang-like noise. It was very distinct sound that the fellow Dunkin' workers would recognize, like one of the metal donut trays clanging against the donut case bars. So I go to investigate the noise, just in case somebody somehow came in the back and nobody is there. There's no people, nothing. I go back to my co-workers and ask, "Did you hear that too?" They all nod and say that was strange, and they did. So I know it wasn't just me. That was the first encounter here. Now let me tell you about the second. Second encounter. A few months passed since the first incident which I'd experienced. I'm over at the lobby register and taking someone's order. My other co-workers were doing other tasks, taking orders, making food, drink, etc. One of my co-workers brought up a tray of bagels or croissants, I can't remember just right now, and sat them on top of where we keep our frozen hash browns by the food station, like the bags and such. The top was on, so it wasn't a flat surface. My co-worker sets the tray down and puts the bread away. The tray was not hanging off the edge, so it was pushed back, and nobody could have moved it. We were all away from it, so while I'm taking the order, the empty tray suddenly falls to the ground in a loud bang. I look up at my co-worker and said, "You saw that too?" And I did, all of us did, and so it wasn't just me. We all agreed that there was no way that it could have fallen off by itself. Now, these are pretty creepy in themselves, and my co-workers fully believe it's a ghost. Before I worked at this Dunkin' location, my co-workers told me about how they've heard voices over the headsets, you know, the one that we use to take orders, when nobody is at the speaker, and they also have told me about other encounters they've had with the spirit. Even the older women have told me their encounters. So what do you guys think? Is my Dunkin' haunted? A dream foreshadowing death. When I was around 12 years old, I'm 25 now, keep in mind, I had a dream that you could say was a nightmare. It started with me walking up the path towards my nan's house with a spooky Halloween vibe. I distinctly remember witches and scary creatures being present in the dream. Then I walked into the house and Tautomai, I'm assuming this is to my nan's bedroom. To my nan's bedroom, and there she was laying in bed, passed away. The blanket was over her and her leg was hanging out the side of the bed. When I woke up, I didn't think anything of it and went to my dad's as usual. Around 11 a.m., I was eating my cereal on the table. I was alone in the house, as it was not unusual for my mother to be out and about in the mornings. Then, suddenly my mother and two aunts came into the house with tears in their eyes and told me that my nan had passed away overnight. Then this dream came flooding back as they do when you forget them, but something during the day triggers your memory. I couldn't even be upset, as I was just completely mind-blown and couldn't believe this had actually happened. My family wondered why I wasn't upset, and when I told them about the dream I had during the night, and they were also shocked. This has played on my mind for many years, and it truly made me believe in life after death, as before I had a firm, once it's done, there's nothing kind of outlook. Now I believe there is an afterlife, and it is connected to dreams. And this feels way too crazy to be a coincidence, as I can recall having any dreams of loved one passing since. I was wondering if there's anyone here who has experience or knows someone who has told me about a similar thing happening to them, because I think it's really strange, and it has had me questioning for many years. That's a great story, and I will tell you. But yes, I do believe relatives come to us, often after they pass. It has happened to me. When I was a little girl, my grandfather passed away, and I very clearly remember having a dream where I was standing outside my house, and he came walking down the lane, and I was so happy to see him because I'd been so sad when he passed, and I flung my arms around him, and he held me. And he told me very specifically, said not to worry about him, but everything was fine. And he asked me to tell my mother, he said specifically, tell Caroline I'm doing okay. And I thought to myself for a second, I thought, who's Caroline? Because of course when you're a little kid, it's not like you're calling your mum by their real name, you're calling them mummy or mum, right? And so it took me ages to figure out that he was talking about my mum, who was his daughter. So he had basically wanted me to deliver the message to his daughter that he was okay. And after that, I never saw him again. I never had another dream. That was it. So yes, I do believe that our relatives can come to visit us from the other side and tell us that they're okay. Thank you, everyone. If you're still with me and you're not asleep, I really appreciate you listening. Please do feel free to like the videos, and if you can, comment anything, even if it's a ghost story of your own, because it does help with the algorithm. In this time full of all of these AI content videos, it's very difficult to get any reach, and so I am trying my little best just to provide this niche content for you guys so that you can sleep better at night. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and have a good night.